Tonight, Broken Hill State MP blasts Labor's proposed tourism recovery fund, and Lucky Bay's new port said to be ready for this year's harvest.
From our 7 Spencer Golf studios, your nightly news with Louise Hedger begins now.
Good evening. Member for Barwon Kevin Humphries says Labor's Tourism Recovery Fund, designed for communities in the Far West, is a pathetic slap in the face, claiming the opposition does not have the right idea as how to make tourism prosper in the area.
A $1 million slap in the face.
Certainly reflects a very poor understanding of how tourism operates in the Far West, and we've got a very vibrant economy.
Last week, Labor's Shadow Tourism Minister John Graham announced a tourism recovery fund for the Far West. $1 million to Broken Hill and Central Darling Shire councils to help boost tourism in the wake of the multiple fish kills in the region. Mr Humphries believes Labor's knee-jerk reaction to the fish kill could be more harmful to the region's visitation.
You talk down one community and you overemphasise the negativity, and that starts to rub off on the wider community, and indeed that's what's happening, and you and I know that's not the case. It's still a great place to live, work and visit. Let's focus on our strengths.
After meeting with locals in townships like Menindee and Pooncarie, Mr Humphries says funding for advertising may not be the single answer.
The big ticket that they wanted was the sealing of the Pooncarie-Menindee Road. They think that, as in the tourist operators and many of the locals believe, that's the single biggest thing that government can do to help increase tourism numbers.
Labor has promised, if elected, to set up their emergency fund as one of their first acts. Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Golf News.
There were fears of an explosion on the weekend after a fire came close to a dozen gas cylinders at the Sharinga Roadhouse. The Country Fire Service was called out to the area at 1:30 on Saturday morning, where they battled to control the flames, then quickly removing several large gas cylinders which were nearby.
All 3 vehicles, all 3 cabins were unfortunately destroyed as a result of the fire, but fortunately there were no injuries to firefighters or members of the public.
The cause of the fire is still being investigated, and authorities are urging anyone with information to contact Crime Stoppers. Local mortgage brokers are fighting back against the recommendations made by the Royal Banking Commission. A local finance advisor says what was meant to be a crackdown on the big banks now seems to be targeting local brokers.
It was announced almost 2 years ago.
The only way we can give all Australians a greater degree of assurance about the financial system is through a Royal Commission into misconduct into the financial services industry.
Now the findings are revealed, but not without some protest. Local mortgage brokers accusing the report's findings of favouring the big banks over local finance advisors.
It's not just the brokers that will be impacted by this, it is every single person.
Ms Hersey says she's worried what the findings will mean for first-time home buyers.
The most important thing about a broker is delivering choice and options.
But that could all change with home buyers being forced into single plan options by the banks.
Go to a bank directly, you're only going to get one product, one decision at the end and one policy.
The day after the recommendations were made, shares in ANZ, Commonwealth and NAB jumped to nearly 7%, but lower level banks plummeted by nearly 30%. With 59% of all mortgages made through brokers in Australia, there is real concern for losing small finance businesses.
Customer experiences will be impacted, and obviously that whole process of, when you go to get a loan, that waiting to get approval, that time will be delayed significantly.
Brokers are encouraging the public to sign their petition. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
A Port Lincoln tuna ship was rescued on the weekend after reporting engine failures off the coast of Kangaroo Island. The distress beacon was activated after the vessel reportedly broke down south of Vivon Bay. 2 Port Lincoln tuna vessels fishing in nearby waters responded to the call around 6:30 in the evening. The ship was then towed back to Kangaroo Island. Teaport's Lucky Bay grain terminal project is moving along at a good rate, according to the company's CEO. If all goes to plan, the first grain will arrive at the site later this year. John Hunt has more.
Since beginning construction in July last year, Teaports has been moving closer towards completion of its Lucky Bay grain terminal project. And going by this week's construction update, they could be ready to go sooner rather than later if all goes to plan. The $115 million project includes a grain terminal and port at Lucky Bay outside of Kau, along with grain storage at Lock on the Western EP. It's the first farmer private equity partnership in South Australia. In their most recent monthly newsletter released this week, CEO Kieran Carville says major earthworks have finished at Lucky Bay on the grain bunker. Roadworks continue around the area. However, most of the road has been graded, with rubble to be laid down in the coming weeks. And power capabilities have also been installed, with SA Power Networks to connect them to the grid next month. Approval has been granted for the port facility, with work on that aspect to commence next month. Teaports are expecting the first batch of grain from farmers will start flowing into the facility in this year's harvest, with exports to begin in 2020. Around 70 jobs will be created in the Cowal area, so while there's still much to do before it's operational, the first green shoots are starting to break through.
Renovations currently underway at Port Augusta's Town Hall means the vacant building could be in use in 6 months' time. There are a number of plans for the hall, as well as a push to build a new civic library on the adjacent land.
From looking at the cracks, chips and rusting, it's clear Port Augusta's Town Hall has been unoccupied for over 35 years, but the old building could be in use as early as August.
Town Hall should be up and running certainly before the end of the year, but hopefully closer towards the end of the second quarter.
Golf Group Director Jeevan Jute last night updated Council on the plans to transform the dilapidated structure into one that will house a cinema, an art gallery, as well as a collaborative workspace. This space would allow businesses to rent out offices and desks on a monthly or yearly basis.
So it's really the trendy way of, or the modern way of working in those collaborative environments.
All the window frames have now been repaired, and work will continue over the coming months to repoint the heritage-listed facade, which has suffered sinking problems due to years of leaking water.
It reveals a whole series of headaches and problems that previously didn't think were there.
Mr. Jute also pitched the idea of a new civic library on the site, which he says wouldn't have to be initially funded by Council. He's now waiting to hear their verdict on whether those discussions should progress.
Libraries really are, in the modern age, the brain of the community, and without the brain of the community doesn't have a lot.
Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Still to come tonight, a new app helping connect Port Augusta residents to council, and the Peterborough Train Museum adds a new piece to its collection. Welcome back. A new app launched by the Local Government Association is giving residents in regional areas quick access to local council information. In Port Augusta, the technology has played a part in helping fix damaged curbs and footpaths.
Throughout the council boundaries in Port Augusta, there are 122 kilometres of footpaths, and in the past, to lodge a report for damage, pen and paper was the old school method. But a new app will allow maintenance requests to be delivered at the push of a button.
It's a much more appropriate way and targeted way for council to receive and act upon it.
Available across a number of regional councils, the app allows the user to upload a photo of the incident, while also pinpointing the map coordinates.
Typically we're seeing things like a trip hazard on a footpath, for instance, some curbing damage.
The advancement is proving to be very efficient in the council offices.
Our customer service staff receive them and sort them first thing in the morning, and they're directed to the appropriate officers straight away for prioritisation.
Residents can also receive notifications for events, community meetings, plus the all-important weekly tasks.
There's also the important bin calendar as well, so people know what bin to put out on what week.
While this is an important step for many, for those who aren't tech-savvy, all the old methods of communication still apply.
They can still come into the council offices, they can phone, they can email, they can print a form themselves.
Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Golf News.
A retirement home in Crystal Brook is breaking down digital barriers by joining the federal government's Be Connected initiative. Residents are being offered free computer lessons through the scheme.
You're never too old to become digitally literate. Residents of Crystal Brooks Wallottra Home have been offered a way to connect with family and friends through computer lessons.
We had the opportunity to go through BConnect, which is an Australian government initiative, as a grant to start IT services for the community.
Living at a home can often be socially isolating. These computer classes will become part of a greater scheme of turning the home into a community hub. Posters have been pinned up across the town encouraging locals to apply.
And it would also give them the capacity to see the outside world and be communicated with the outside world.
Alicia Richards was more than happy to share her digital know-how with both the home's residents and members of the community.
I ask them what they want to learn, and then go from there.
Many of her students are using a computer for the first time. She's been teaching basic computer skills ranging from operating the mouse to navigating web browsers and apps.
Yep, that's it. And then use your mouse.
For guitar enthusiast Kerry Mummery, the lessons have helped him get back to his musical roots. If you would like to participate, contact the Wallottra Home Office. Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
New South Wales fisheries staff have moved more fish out of the Darling River in an attempt to avoid more fish kill events. Over 60 Murray cod, golden and silver were removed from pools downstream of Menindee. Some were taken to the Narrandera Fisheries Centre to help restock the struggling river system. The remaining fish were released further downstream where water is believed to be better. The Department of Primary Industries says it's not the best solution, but given the dry and hot conditions, it's a necessity. A Broken Hill Day Spa has received a top honour at the inaugural Face Body Conference and Awards event. Aura Clinic and Spa was named Best Business in New South Wales. The owner left speechless when the winner was announced.
An award that came as a massive shock.
I think I yelped. I might have had a tear or two of joy. I was blown away, really.
Aura Clinic and Spa provides a number of different treatments to those who come through the door. It's a place where you can restore your skin, body and soul in the outback. So when it was nominated for the Face and Body Awards, Kate Pryor was already ecstatic.
Some of the therapists and salons that were represented at the conference were of really high calibre and, from Sydney and Blue Mountains and Byron Bay. So that blew me away to be a finalist.
After claiming the Best Business New South Wales award, Kate was full of praise for her staff.
I have an amazing team of therapists who are all really keen and eager to learn, but most importantly, eager to please their clients on a daily basis.
She says the award is recognition for their hard work.
We have a bit of a philosophy that we go above and beyond exceeding our clients' expectations, and they really embrace that well. They're nurturers, they care about people.
Aura Clinic and Spa can be found across from the city's art gallery on Argent Street. Patrick Royenke, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The Peterborough Train Museum has welcomed a new addition to its collection. Donated by the Port Dock Station, the open freight wagon has made its last voyage from Port Adelaide to the Mid-North.
Excitement was in the air at Peterborough's Steamtown Heritage Railway Centre this morning, following the arrival of a special delivery.
The National Rail Museum in Port Adelaide has donated a broad gauge open wagon to Steamtown.
It's the end of the line for a 70-year-old freight wagon which was transported to its new home free of charge at the courtesy of McGuinness Rigging. This act of kindness has saved the museum from spending $3,000 on transport, an expense they say they couldn't afford.
We'll load it up for you in Adelaide, transport it to Peterborough. You get a local operator there to unload it.
Slowly but surely, the carriage was crane lifted onto its new display. An excited crowd of local kindergartners looked on as the operators delicately guided the 16-tonne wagon into a narrow space running adjacent to one of the railway sheds. Now safe and sound, the staff couldn't be more pleased with their new addition to their already extensive collection.
So it's another exhibit. It captures the heritage of the rail system, and it's just added to our viewing stock.
Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us. After the break, we'll have a look at the region's fuel prices, and Britt will join us with all the latest weather details. Thanks for joining us. Time now for Fuel Watch. Here's Pat in Broken Hill.
It's been a solid week at the Bowser, with majority of petrol prices either going down or staying put. Starting with unleaded, and most of the Spencer Gulf has seen a decline in their prices. Port Lincoln has dropped by about 2 cents and is now at $1.30. Whyalla has gone down by about a cent. Port Augusta also seeing green, but it's only a minor change. Port Pirie is breaking even at $1.26, the cheapest in the Gulf, while Kadina is still paying around $1.30, the same as Lincoln. Here in Broken Hill, we're seeing red, but still averaging $1.37 a litre. Adelaide is at the bottom end of its cycle. The price in the Big Smoke is hovering around $1.24. Switching to diesel now, and despite some red and green, prices are basically the same. Port Lincoln is still averaging $1.41, only seeing a small increase. Whyalla is the only one to go down this week, but again, it's no real change in the price. Port Augusta, Port Pirie and Kadina have all seen next to no movement, while here in the Silver City, we've gone up by half a cent. Adelaide is paying around $1.35. And finishing off with a quick look at Autogas, Kadina and Broken Hill have seen their prices jump, while Port Lincoln and Adelaide have gone down. Now remember, these prices are the regional averages, and they do not reflect any one particular outlet. And if you do find a spot that does sell unleaded, diesel or auto gas for cheaper, be sure to let us know on our Facebook page.
And time to take a look at what's happening in the weather. Here's Britt Aylen.
Thanks, Louise. It's been a partly cloudy day over most parts, with clearer skies at Broken Hill. Port Augusta with a top of 23 today, Whyalla 21, Port Lincoln 22, Broken Hill and Port Pirie both 24. To the satellite now, and a high pressure system moved towards our region from the west today and will centre over the Bight later this evening before continuing southeastwards over the coming days. On the waters, southwesterly winds tending southeasterly at up to 20 knots with swells to 1.5 metres, and sunrise is due at 6:52 in the morning. Tomorrow is looking mostly sunny with maximums in the 20s. Slightly warmer again at Port Augusta with a top of 29, Whyalla and Port Lincoln both 25, Coffin Bay 21, Woodner and Corn both 29, Broken Hill 27, Port Pirie with a top of 28, Clare 25 degrees, Cleve 26 and Kadina 28. To the end of the week, Port Lincoln with a sunny couple of days ahead, similar conditions for Cleve with maximums rising across the weekend, and bright and sunny days ahead for Woodner, warming up with temperatures in the mid-30s. Whyalla a sunny end to the week, back up to 40 degrees on Sunday. Port Augusta looking clear and sunny with maximums jumping up at the weekend also, and hot and sunny days ahead for Kadina. Port Pirie sunny through the end of the week, temperatures rising into the weekend, sunny conditions ahead for Clare, and Broken Hill clear on Friday with some cloud cover on Saturday. And that's it for today's weather. Thanks, Louise.
Thanks for that, Britt. And that's your local news this Wednesday. We hope you have a lovely evening.